Hi, everybody. My name is Christian Trombone. This is Economics 112, and this is Presentation 1, which goes over the four principles of individual choice. So, first up, we have about macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is the branch of economics that studies the behavior and performance of an economy as a whole. Instead of focusing on individual markets, it looks at aggregated indicators to understand the overall functioning of an economy. In macroeconomics, we take into accountability the four principles of individual choice. These are: the scarcity of resources is what makes choices a necessity. The true cost of something is its opportunity cost. The concept of trade-off and the view of how much is a decision at the margin. And lastly, incentives and how or why people respond to them the way that they do. So, some interesting perspectives. One thing that we talked about in class was that one person's spending is another person's income. And when I hear this, I automatically think of one man's trash is another man's treasure, and it's really true because it focuses on so much, and it's really prominent in your everyday life. Like whenever you think of something, like the example I used here, if you start off looking at a farmer, a farmer grows a bunch of different fruits and vegetables, and even animals. They have animals. When what they do with those animals is, like, say for a cow, uh, they milk them, they to for milk, and then after, when the cow is no longer in the prime, I would say, they slaughter the cow and they make meat from it. So this man's the farmer's cow produced milk and now meat for him, and at the price of his cow, which whatever it costs him, he now sells these resources that he's acquired, the dairy and the meat. He sells those to vendors at a profit for himself, and obviously the vendors are buying it at a lower price than what they are eventually going to sell it to the public. They're gonna then go into markets and into supermarkets, and sell these meats to customers, to paying customers who will buy it, and then the vendors will make some profit off of that. And it goes into everything. Again, with the farmer, you could think about the plants and the vegetables this as the same way down, but now it goes even further to where did the farmer purchase those seeds? Where did he get his seeds from to plant all these stuff? Even that, the people that sold that to him, they made a profit off of what he bought. He buys that at a small price, grows it, and now he sells it for more than what he bought the seed. So it's a really cool way to look at things, and to understand that money is always the price of something is always growing, and somebody's always making money off of something. It's really interesting to think about. It really is. The saying is really prominent, like I said, in the world around you, no matter where you are. It basically builds the economy. As everything, goods and services are being flipped to other people, and people are buying it. It really shapes the way that our economy is flowing and moving, and how different things are growing in prices, and how people are making income off of it and making a profit. And it's really something that's interesting to think about. And the overall knowledge that of knowing this concept, it helps policymakers make decisions. And really, in the economy, like, for instance, I have here, when the economy is in a downturn, the government tends to increase spending, tax cuts, or public projects in order to increase revenue and employment. It also makes people realize that their spending patterns, however minor, have wider consequences to the economy and the overall economic health of other people. And also, you could take into accountability here, the scarcity of resources. Like, uh, say it's very hard to get eggs, which was a thing recently. Egg prices shoot up because everybody is now able to sell these eggs at such a higher price because people need them, and they'll be so much more willing to pay that high price because they they have to get their hands on these eggs. They have to at some point acquire them so that they could sell them. And as the chain goes down, every little layer that it goes, the price keeps on increasing. Next, we have the concept of opportunity cost, and this is a simple fact that it takes into accountability the next best option you had when you were making a decision. And it doesn't really have to be referring to money or how much you could have made. It could refer to anything. Basically just the next best thing that you could have done. That's what it cost you when you made that decision. So uh, a couple examples that I have here. I work valet on the weekend. So for example, if my boss asks me to cover a shift for somebody on Sunday night, I have no obligations. I'm free, but maybe I want to go to my friend's house and I want to watch football. You know, if I choose to tell my boss that I'm busy and I can't work, and I end up going to my friend's house, the opportunity cost of me going there and enjoying that time with my friends is the money that I would have and could have made if I had told my boss that I can work, and if I would have went there and I would have made that money. And like I said, a lot of the time it has to do with money, but it doesn't have to. So say the roles were reversed. Say if he'd asked me to work on Sunday, but at first I really wanted to go to my friend's house, but instead, I decide that maybe watching football is not that important right now. I should go and I should make money. So I tell my boss I'm available. I go, I work, I make that money. But now the opportunity cost of me going there and working is the fact that I missed out on spending time with my friends, and watching football. Opportunity cost is a very important concept for people to grasp because it will help them make a better decisions with their money, time with others, resources, and so much more on a regular day basis. Every decision that you'll make it has an opportunity cost because there's always something else that you could have done. Like even if it's whether I'll lay in bed more, or should I spend 30 more minutes laying in bed, or should I get up and be productive and go to the gym. If I had decided to stay in bed, I would have lost that half hour that I could have been in the gym. And it's really a good way to look at your surroundings, and really think about the choices that you're making and what you're missing out on. Next, we have incentives. An incentive in economics is either a reward or a punishment that further influences a person's choice, like whether to buy something or not, or even the willingness to work a specific job or not. It is important to know that incentives can positively or negatively affect your choice. So one of the easiest ways to look at this is we see it all the time in supermarkets and in all these places, all these retail places where buy one get one free. You're walking around CVS and you see that body wash is now buy one get one free. You realize at home, oh, I have body wash. I don't need to really buy it right now, but that deal is making you think about buying it because now even though you don't need it right now, you're going to need it at some point, and now you can buy one and get another one free. You're getting two for the price of one. So now you'll be saving money in the future, and that's how they kind of like rope you into buying their products. Another one here is employers give bonuses to their associates based on performance. And by making this known to their associates, it pushes them to work harder and to earn a larger bonus when that time comes. Dangerous jobs, like I said, the willingness to work a specific job based on how they're going to pay you, based on what you have to do. So, what I have here, like underwater welders, they get paid more than your ordinary welder. Is the risk of doing dangerous work worth the price that the employer is going to pay you? It's something that you always have to take into consideration and think about. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to, you know, be vulnerable for this incentive for more money? Incentives are extremely important in economics because they really explain the decision making process that goes behind everything. And you know the decision that CVS made to make their certain product at buy one get one is now affecting and influencing your decision on whether or not do I need this certain product today. I could save some money, or I could get I could buy more for the price of one. And it really just it depends on how you look at these incentives and how beneficial it is to you. um, incentives I have here: incentives drive behavior, help allocate resources, shape strategies amongst employers and vendors, and even help predict outcomes in the future, like predict sales, for example. So after a holiday, let's say, uh, right after Christmas, all a whole bunch of Christmas decorations might go on sale, or even kids' toys. They might go on sale because they have so much in stock that didn't get bought maybe throughout the season, and they have to try to rope you in to buy them, and by that they lower their prices, and that in itself is an incentive where because of the season they might have dropped prices on a certain thing, and now you're like, oh, maybe I could use this for next year. I'll save money at buying it at a marginal cost. So in all of these aspects of economics are truly important to how we live in our everyday lives. Whether it be incentives, or the opportunity cost of something. It's really something to admire, and something that I hope people understand. And this is something that could help you with your decision making in your everyday life, no matter what it be.